Hello and welcome, Xbox Nation. Happy Star Wars Day, and of course, May the 4th be with you. Today, we're going to be celebrating Star Wars in a big way. And of course, I gathered a real and incredible panel of gamers and community members that are going to have and share some of their best Star Wars stories, as well as tackling some of the biggest Xbox stories. And of course, if you haven't seen this footage, folks, I don't have any Star Wars footage. I probably should have. It should go to show you that I'm a little unprofessional as a host, but I cannot stop playing and enjoying Rise Son of Rome. I mean, obviously we got, word that we may be getting a Rise Son of Rome 2. And folks, I just have to remind you that what you see in front of you is running on the Series X. The game was a launch title in 2013, and it still looks this good. Could you imagine what that engine would look like fully optimized and running on the Series X as a new game? It would just be ridiculous. But let's introduce our special guest. And obviously, we have our regular panel, but I want to talk about this gentleman now. He just had a birthday, so of course, late happy birthday to you, Mav. You're a ripe old 38 years old, so yeah, good on you for that. You're only 12 years younger than I am, and I don't feel that bad, so it's okay. It's okay. But I really want to talk about what you've been doing with this community. Obviously, you and your wife, Caitlin, along with the incredible panel on the Xbox Ultimate Podcast, has just been really making some incredible strides. I'm happy to have been pushing your brand because, you know what? I think that more people need to help others and push others and their content because, when you see good content, you want to support it. You want to put it out there for others to enjoy. And I do enjoy the podcast. How the heck are you, brother? And welcome to the show.
Hey man, I'm doing great. Had a great day yesterday. My wife made me all kinds of goodies for my birthday. I had homemade chili, got a pound cake. She made me breakfast. It was awesome. She just treated me like a king. It was great. And hey, then I wake up today, doing some work stuff and hanging out, and I get a text. And what better day after my birthday to come hang out with Boom and my brother from another Pong, Soul, and Zemi Games, the most intelligent man in game media. I'll say probably. I don't know.
He is definitely sharp as a tack.
Is that too much?
That's going a little too far.
Is that too much? Yeah, that's too much.
Far.
Okay, I just want to trying to stroke your ego.
Mav, how much is Zemi paying you now?
Not enough. I take it back.
I'll say this about Zemi. He's sharp as a tack, but not very brave, according to him. I take it for what it's worth. And speaking of Zemi Games, Zemi, how the heck are you, brother? And are you ready for Resident Evil 8 Village that comes out next week?
Man, I have never been more ready to not play a game in my entire life. I'm so excited for it. Also, what's this Star Wars thing you guys are talking about?
You know what?
What's the Star Wars thing?
I think you're going to start you're going to force people to start the hashtag cancel Zemi Games.
Who's Zemi?
Who's Zemi? That would be an amazing hashtag. But no, I'm super excited to be here. I wasn't able to make last week's show. Had a migraine. Had like 4 migraines in a row because the weather. It was a terrible time in my life. But no migraine today. I'm here and I'm ready to talk Xbox with you guys. I'm super excited.
Well, thanks. We're happy that you're better. And unfortunately, I know all about migraines because I do suffer from them. And sometimes, I've had them as much as 5 days. And it is just, it's awful. It's awful when you got to still function. And, obviously, life goes on, but you still have a migraine. But I'm glad that you're feeling better, brother, and glad that you're back. And last and no way least, another gentleman over here that not only started his own podcast, not only has been making incredible strides, but works weekly with Mav. How the heck are you, Pong Soul?
Well, happy Star Wars Day to you, Boom, and to everybody, and obviously to my brother from another, Mav, and Zemi. What a great day to be here. Great Tuesday. Been ultra busy in real life, but you know what? Always good to take time and get away from it with video games and podcasting. So I am happy and excited to be here. We got a great panel. We got great topics, and definitely looking forward to it.
Well, it's great to have you here, and it's great to have the gang, the band back together, so to speak. And you know what? I do want to open up with a Star Wars topic. Now, obviously, last night, if you were able to catch the live stream, we had Miles Dompierre from Windows Central, and he obviously is the host of Xbox Chatter Days on Saturday. I believe it's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I'm not mistaken. And we talked about the big rumor going around with ZeniMax potentially doing a Mandalorian or at least a Star Wars game. And though we're not going to get into that today, I do want to kind of talk about our favorite Star Wars memories and what games really defined the IP for us personally. Now, for me, I bought it on PlayStation. They didn't release it on Xbox as of yet, a re-release. The game is dated as heck, but I still want to play through it. I'm probably going to try and platinum it. I'm talking about Republic Commando. It is a game that came out during the OG Xbox, and I believe it was the PlayStation 2. And it is probably still one of my favorite Star Wars games for the fact that it really did tell an incredible story. Now, granted, I'm playing it now, and it is, man, it's dated. It is, wow, it's dated. But I'm still, like I said, I'm still going to play through it. For me, it's one of the games that defined, next gen back then Star Wars games. It was a first person shooter. It had an incredible Star Wars, an original Star Wars story. And, obviously for me, Star Wars started. I remember like it was yesterday. It's crazy that even at 50 years old, I can still remember this far back. My mom and dad, took me and my brother to see the original Star Wars in the theater. As a matter of fact, there was a theater called City Cinema in Co-op City, and I remember watching in complete awe of what we saw. And what was cool is that next weekend, and this is again, this is some personal stuff here. I went, and because I'm definitely going to show my age, I had gone over to my grandmother's house, and back in the days, they used to have Sears books, like catalogs. And I remember seeing all of the Star Wars figures in there, and I did not know what to do with myself. And yes, I was like, Grandma was always good for the hookup, if you know what I'm talking about. And she wound up buying me. I think I got just about all of them. And you know what? I just, it's amazing that a brand that old and has so many years from when I first saw it is as relevant. Now, granted, the last couple of films have not been good. We did get very lucky enough to get Favreau and to really take hold of the TV series, the Mandalorian and what they're going to be doing. And I'm very excited. Again, I don't know how excited I'm going to be for the next film, only because I don't know who's directing and I don't know where they're going to go. But we do, as Star Wars fans, have a lot to look forward to. And those are some of my favorite memories. And I guess, obviously, one of the first RPGs that I really sunk my teeth into was Knights of the Old Republic on the OG Xbox, and that's still one of the best ones out there. Zemi, let's go to you first. You obviously are a huge Star Trek fan, so I don't necessarily know if you're going to bring anything to the table.
Battlestar Galactica, all the way.
But not the new one. The original Cylons were good back in the 70s, not the new.
I don't know. I really like that the rebooted TV series in like the early 2000s. I think is whenever it came out. I actually really did like that. I did.
Okay, I mean, listen, you can't account for taste, but it's okay. It's okay. For you, what Star Wars memories do you have with gaming?
Honestly, if I was gonna say my favorite and probably biggest Star Wars memory for gaming would probably be Star Wars Battlefront 2. Not the most recent one that's
you're talking about on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, we're talking about the PlayStation 2 Xbox original version. I absolutely adored that game. I didn't do a lot of homework because of that game, because I was still a young child in school at the time, and I just remember playing through the campaign. It was amazing. The campaign followed the story pretty much for the first three trilogies. It kind of gave some backstory on other characters, and and different events that kind of happen behind the scenes during the prequels and and the original trilogy. But no, I absolutely adored the campaign, but probably my favorite mode in that game, and I was so disappointed whenever Battlefront 2 didn't the new version didn't have this game mode, but it was a conquest mode where you
Yes.
and another player could go into like this big galactic map, and it was kind of like a turn, like a turn strategy gameplay mechanic, and you would go and invade other people's planets, and then whenever you were invading the planet, you would land on it and fight against the other person that you were playing with, and multiplayer. And it was just so much fun. And it was massively disappointing whenever of course, they didn't add conquest mode into like the most recent Battlefront game. But I recently jumped back onto Battlefront 2 because I think that they put it on the Xbox, like made it backwards compatible.
Yeah.
And it is still super, super fun to play, but it's also aged pretty significantly.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Anyway, that's probably my favorite Star Wars game. Of course, in recent times, I would say that my favorite Star Wars games, like we're talking like last 10 years probably, is Jedi Fallen Order. But for all time, it's definitely Battlefront 2. It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, and you know something? I remember playing Battlefront 2 like unbelievable amounts of hours. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember when I did make it backwards compatible. I did try it, and it has aged. But you know what's crazy? The gameplay might actually be better than the new Battlefront.
Yeah, it was better. I mean, it has not aged amazingly, but I did sit down and play it for like 5 hours straight. I think like on live stream. So I still enjoy the game to this day.
Well, I mean, listen, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Real quick, I want to thank, let's see, what do we got? We had a super chat come in from, let me see where that is. I know Zemi threw it in the chat. I believe it's for $5. Yeah, we had a $5 super chat come in from Christopher Alexson. He drops, again, a $5 super chat and says, what display do you guys play on Series X? I play on a Samsung Q95 75. Wow, yeah, dude, that's a powerful TV. I got last year's model. I think I got the Q80 for the Samsung. I don't play. I think it can go up to 120 frames per second. I'm playing in 4K. Unfortunately, I can't. That's the weird thing, man. I can't activate HDR, auto HDR, or HDR10 with the Elgato attached. If I do that, I can't record gameplay. It's the biggest pain in the ass. I reached out to Jason Ronald. He hasn't gotten back to me yet. I hope that they can do something about that because, yeah, the Elgato literally makes that unusable, those two modes, and I hate not having that on. But anyway, that's a horse of another color. Mav, let's get your opinion on this. Obviously, Star Wars means a lot to a lot of people, but we're interested to hear your favorite Star Wars stories regarding gaming and, of course, the films.
Okay, so I got one for gaming and I got one for the movies. Okay,
Nice.
So, gaming wise, it was right when I got the Nintendo 64, and is one of the first games I played on the 64, and that was Shadows of the Empire.
Dude, that's such a great game, man.
I just got so into it, and it was like so different for gaming back then to have a game like that on a console, and it just like opened my eyes to like possibilities of games, not only because it was like one of the first like action 3D like games I played like that, right? So that was amazing. And then also, was it Rogue? Was it Rogue Galaxy? No,
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron. Yeah,
Yes.
Rogue Galaxy is the RPG that on PlayStation that I loved. Rogue Squadron. Yes, Rogue Squadron was amazing. I remember like zipping between the ats and going and like taking them down, right? With the cables and stuff. That was a blast, and it was like another one of those experiences, right? So gaming wise, like just because like it was like so new back then, to have a console that could do that kind of stuff, and they look so good, right? The games looked so good, and they were awesome and so much fun to play. Those are my favorite memories. I like. There's so many great Star Wars games, but those two just stood out. Maybe it's because I was at that age too, where it's just like really starting to really get into Star Wars, right? And that leads me into the movies because so I was born in '83, which is when Return of the Jedi came out,
Yep.
right? So I didn't have the movie experience going day one to the theaters, but I did go later when they did like a re-release at the theaters and stuff when I was a kid. And then I did like um, uh, watch them at home quite frequently. They always came on TV, you know. So I had become a Star Wars fan, but through that and through the games. But then the biggest movie moment for me was when they announced that, hey, there's this Star Wars is coming back, right? And there's going to be 3 new movies and everything. I was like, oh, okay. And I started getting really excited, and I started going back and watching those other movies again to lead up to it. And then I remember when Phantom Menace came out, it happened to be like around the time that we had a family reunion. And so I actually went and saw that with like all my cousins, I think. And that was a really cool experience. And then we all just talked about Star Wars for a while after. And then I went home and I watched the original movies again because like I'm just still grasping everything because you know I wasn't like an adult back in the '70s when the original movies started, right? But yeah, it's just it that movie, even though it wasn't the greatest, it ignited something in me to realize that hey, I am one of these Star Wars people that really like Star Wars. I'm not like Pong. You know, he takes this stuff a little seriously, and you're about to hear it because I get criticized sometimes from Pong about some of my favorites. You know, it's okay though. But
Look, your wrong
yeah, man,
opinions are not going to be discussed.
yeah, we won't discuss that here because I'm going to get crucified on another show. But I just like I developed this love at that time for Star Wars that was different than I ever had before, and able to talk about it because I was 16 when that came out, right? So it just that spawned this love of Star Wars that's carried through now. I think even further. So even though the new movies aren't the greatest, I still love all of them. It's like it's so much fun. It's so unique. Star Wars is a unique thing.
Yeah, no, it certainly is, and again, one of the things I love about the brand is how it transcends generations, how it's important to grown men and women, and somehow or another that's passed through to some of their kids. Like Joseph, my wife and I, we don't have any kids. We have lots of of godchildren, and that we know obviously we treat like our own, and it's amazing to see their excitement for Star Wars when we love it as much as we do. I mean, my wife has a bunch of Star Wars like pocketbooks and stuff that are like super exclusive, and you know she's a big nerd just like I am, and Star Wars still holds a massive place in our hearts. And it again, I love to see that it's still, you know, things fade over time. Star Wars is one of those brands that just doesn't. And you know, seeing what they're doing with the again, I think that the Disney Plus series, I think the Mandalorian, the first season was great. I think that the second season was greater, and we really have a lot to look forward to as Star Wars fans. But Pong, let's get your legacy with Star Wars. I think it's going to be a big one, and I'm interested to hear what are your favorite Star Wars thoughts and theories regarding the film, and of course, gaming.
Yeah, well, just like you, Boom, I'm only, a few years younger than you. So my first memory, I know I went to um, episode 3. I know I was there because obviously my mom told me, but I don't remember that. But I do remember The Empire Strikes Back and seeing it in the theater. And so that's one of my earliest memories of Star Wars itself, because obviously I had all the action figures. My love for Star Wars runs deep from back then, and so that's my earliest memory of the movies. All the re-releases, all that stuff has been exciting when they came out with the last batch, and they did the theaters were doing the runs of all the originals, and 1 through 6, leading up to 7. I was there. I sat in the theater for, I think it was 15 hours or whatever, 18 hours, whatever it was. It was an incredible experience to go back and relive those memories all over again. Star Wars is near and dear to my heart. I think it's one of the greatest universes ever created. I don't agree, obviously, as Mav alluded to, with the direction that Disney has decided to go in certain areas and destroying a bunch of the canon and lore that was created prior to it. However, that is what happens as you get older. Things change and they're not necessarily for you anymore. But I still enjoy them for what they are, and I still get goosebumps when I hear the music. Star Wars is something ingrained in my heart. It's much like video games. And it's just truly one of the biggest universes out there that has ever been created by man. And I think it's something that will continue to be explored well into the future. And there's so many possibilities that, oh man, it's thrilling to think about. And the video games have just taken that to the next level. Video games, with Star Wars, I guess, some of my earliest favorite memories are Super Nintendo with Super Star Wars.
Oh my goodness. Yep.
Yeah.
Those are such great side scrollers, man.
So hard, but so hard, but absolutely incredible. Captured the feel of the movies. And so that right there. And then, of course, Knights of the Old Republic took it to the whole next level. And the beautiful part about Knights of the Old Republic is you got to explore the dark side. I tend to lean towards the dark side, and it fascinates me, and I love the stories, but we don't see a whole lot of it for obvious reasons, because Star Wars was created for kids, and it's not always a good place to travel down the dark side and explore that. Some of the movies have, but the video games allow you to do that. And Knights of the Old Republic was an adult themed Star Wars game that captured the essence of what it was like to be in that universe. And for me, that was the first experience where I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Video games are truly, getting a hold of what Star Wars is, expanding the universe even more, and allowing
nothing like HK-47 to wake you up in the morning.
It's amazing. There's so many memorable characters in there. So yeah, and then from there, of course, Battlefront was a big one, and that's because me and my kiddo played that nonstop, and I've got so many memories sitting next to him, of course, like you just talked about, Boom. The love for Star Wars, gets passed on
crazy
to younger generations through the rest of us. Now that we're all growing up, and my kiddo is now he's an adult, but he has a love for Star Wars, and our times together in the game room, sitting there playing Battlefront and just watching his eyes, as he first got his hero, whoever it was, whether it was Yoda or whatever, and pulled out his lightsaber, his eyes getting all big, and just thinking it was the coolest thing in the world that he could do that. Those memories will never fade whatsoever. And so Battlefront's got a special place in my heart. Personally, for me, Force Unleashed is still one of the best Star Wars games out there. The story of Star Killer and getting to see,
dude, so good. Still, I wish they remastered both of those games.
Absolutely, and I wish they would make a movie or a TV series based on Star Killer. I know they won't, because he's no longer canon and it's gone. But at the same time, that relationship and getting to see Darth Vader, more, and exploring him more, but Star Killer as a character was incredible, and the use of Force in that game was the best use of Force that had been created up to that point. You felt powerful, which was absolutely amazing. There was nothing like throwing stormtroopers or grabbing a TIE fighter out of the sky. And
dude, you brought a Star Destroyer down.
Yes, you bring a Star Destroyer down. Just incredible. So Force Unleashed will always have a special place.
It's funny. Let me just add to that, because of the power that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau currently have, and quite frankly, because of the success of The Mandalorian season 1, and of course the follow up with season 2, where they added Ahsoka and all of these characters from the animated series that was created by Dave Filoni. something like Star Killer could potentially come back. I know
Could
that
in
they,
some form. They could write
yeah,
him
I mean,
in.
he
Yeah.
definitely could. I don't rule out anything because, like I said, right now I know Kathleen Kennedy is still, the head person at Lucasfilms. I don't know if that's going to be changing anytime soon. I know that,
We
when
could
you
pray.
talk about what they've done, no one has. I don't really think that there are a lot of people that enjoyed the films, whether you are a diehard Star Wars person or not. I really don't think that there's a lot to take away from the films. They were not good films.
Yeah, no,
So, but they did make a lot of money. So I
they
think that,
did.
unfortunately, in this business, money does talk. I just hope that they do something in the next. Again, are they going to do the High Republic, the Old Republic? Are they going to, just do a whole new Star Wars altogether? Only time was going to tell. But please continue your point. I just want you to
Yeah.
know that Star Killer could potentially be something that because of their power and because they do pull from old lore, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. That would be a dream come true, let me tell you. But you know, and again, moving into the future, what we see now, going forward, we're starting to see a comeback of licensed IP video games, and Star Wars seems to be making a move. Lucas Arts is seems to be back to the old ways again, where they used to be, where they are open to licensing out this IP to as many people as want to make games, which is means this generation we could see a return to form where we're getting Star Wars games on a regular basis, which is another dream come true for me because I think the more content out there, no, not everyone's going to be great. We saw that a lot. There was a lot of bad stuff out there. But at the same time, everyone has the chance to be great. And anytime you can add a fantastic Star Wars game to a video game generation, it makes everything better, at least for me. So if these ZeniMax Online rumors are true, I heard you guys talk about it on Primetime Gaming last night. Boom, it was a fantastic discussion everybody had. Listen, I don't care if it's the Mandalorian. I don't care what they do, but if it is ZeniMax Online and we've seen the results, the stats are kind of out there now about what they did with Elder Scrolls Online. It didn't start out hot, but it is one of the most played console MMOs out there. If they turn Star Wars into another MMO, which we have not had in a long time, man, wow, I would be all over it in a heartbeat, and it would be a moneymaker, and it would make everybody happy. But no matter what, I just think we're going to see a lot more Star Wars content this generation than we have in a long time, and that just makes the kid in me extremely happy.
Yeah, no, 100%, dude. And listen, a big shout out to everyone on the panel that shared their Star Wars stories. We're gonna get into the actual Xbox podcast momentarily. I just got to catch up on some of the super chats, and we had a couple of them pop in. Kirby Louise, a good friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, "Boom, DM me on Twitter after the show, and I can try and walk you through getting HDR pass through to work with the Elgato." Well, I will take you up on that offer. I wind up getting a splitter because even with it turned off, and it's weird. Like I can't have the console in sleep mode. Like literally have to have the console shut off. Because when you turn on when you turn it on, if it's in rest mode or like wait mode, the Elgato just blinks. It blinks red. I have the HD 60 S. I don't have the Plus. I have the S, and it's weird. It was a real pain to get it to work because, unfortunately, recording on the Xbox, they still haven't fixed that either. So I wasn't unable to record any footage. The footage you're seeing is using the Elgato. But if you can help me out with that, Kirby, it'd be greatly appreciated. We had a $15 super chat come in from Melman 323. He says, "Nice podcast and channel." Well, thanks, dude. Appreciate that. Keep up the good work. Greetings from Switzerland. Well, hello there. How you doing, friend? Welcome to the show, and greetings from New Rochelle, New York, brother. Thank you so much for checking out the show, and of course the compliment. Got to say a big hi to Caitlin in the chat. How you doing, darling? Hopefully you're having a good day, and thanks for treating Mav as well as you do, because I saw the posts about that. I think you called it a 7-Up pound cake. Is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've never heard of that before.
It's a
Um,
Texas thing, I
I
think.
was
Maybe.
just gonna say, is it a Texas thing? All right, well, cool, brother. Gary Duddle, generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says the Star Wars arcade machine. Oh my God, yes, 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 yes. I remember my pops taking me to Nathan's. And back in the days, and there's people in the chat that know what I'm talking about. Nathan's, the guys, the franchise that makes the hot dogs and the really delicious French fries. Well, they had an arcade on Central Avenue in Yonkers, and it had about 200 machines. I used to go there as a kid with my parents, and obviously when I learned how to drive, I used to go there with my friends and hang out on Central Avenue. And I remember playing that Star Wars arcade like it was so freaking good, and it was just a bunch of lines. Like it was just a bunch of lines that looked like you were flying around the Death Star. It's crazy. And he also says on the consoles, KOTOR 1 and 2 were by far the best games. Now I would agree. We have GTI 5 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says the typhoon emoji could mean Sonic or Sega. Listen, I'm right there with you. I'd love to see them actually. There's a rumor that they're going to remake Sonic Adventure, which I loved. I loved the original.
God.
I would love to have that remade.
So good.
So freaking. It's funny, real quick, a funny story about that. My friend Jay the Destroyer, he had come over. It was Christmas Eve. And we were waiting for UPS to deliver it. We had imported it because we had imported the Dreamcasts. We both spent $1,200 on the Dreamcast, an extra controller, a memory card, and 4 games. One of which we couldn't play because it was in completely Japanese, and it was like a detective game, so that went to the wayside. It was a waste of money. But Pen Triathlon was a launch title. Virtual Fighter 3, or I think it was, and Godzilla, which I absolutely loved. And we wound up waiting for that Christmas Eve at about 7:00 at night. They delivered it, and I played it all Christmas Day. It's just wow, man, one of my favorite Sonic games of all time. But you know what? Listen. Enough shenanigans, and we've had quite a few shenanigans already. We have to get to the Xbox aspect of why most people are here, and we have over 300 people here. So we're going to open up with some Stalker 2 news. And in one of the most anticipated titles announced at last year's big Xbox show, Stalker 2 by GSC Game World has been a title that has been making the rounds, and hopefully will be releasing this year. But we have some new information that leaked via a secret document, as well as a developer interview that shed some light on how big this game is actually going to be. Now, Stalker, the series itself, it has a pretty dedicated fan base, and we've talked about it on this show before. And those fans have been looking forward, including myself, to the next outing for quite some time since its announcement. Now, while the upcoming Stalker 2 is an ambitious one, it's also based on something that we've seen and heard regarding open world horror shooters. And I don't know if Zemi, I don't know if this has multiplayer, so you may have to miss out on this one for sure. But obviously, it is coming to the Xbox Series X and S. And there has been some talk regarding the secret document that it's only a 3-month exclusive. But we have some information, again, from an interview from the developer, who actually says this. Right now, there are no plans. We have negotiated the possibilities with Microsoft and saw several good opportunities for the brand, which of course included Xbox Game Pass. That is why we decided to launch there. He says, we currently do not have any plans to release it on any other console. So that 3-month, exclusivity is a thing, but they're not looking to release it on any other console other than the Xbox and PC for Xbox. And I think that is a pretty interesting thing. He says, right now we are currently concentrating on releasing the best possible version for the Xbox Series X and S. Now, this is what I want to talk to the panel about, because again, that's ho-hum news. It's the size of this game that has me very excited. Now, obviously, the developers are promising a massive and seamless open world with plenty of player choice in terms of both narrative and its immersive sim-inspired gameplay mechanics, and it looks like they're set to deliver a pretty meaty adventure. Now the question is, how long could we be expecting to play it? Well, apparently it's going to keep us busy for quite some time. In the same interview with CSG Game World, PR magazine, PR manager Zakar Bakrov, posed a question. Was asked a question, and he didn't give an exact number to the game's runtime. However, he did give us an idea of what to expect, and this is what he had to say. It's a very long game, even if you decide to only follow the main quest. Hundreds of hours can be spent if you want to do more exploration and side quests. Zemi, I want to go to you first on this because obviously this is another one in your list that you're going to be playing at night with headphones in the dark
100%.
at 2 o'clock in the morning by yourself. In a very big open room with lots of windows and doors, so many people can come in and potentially murder you. But with that said, listen, this is one of those games that's being considered as an indie title, though it does not look like one. And to know that not only is this Xbox Game Pass, not only is it a current exclusive for the console, but it's a big one. What are your thoughts?
I think that's awesome. I mean, I've also kind of made my thoughts on this game like very, very clear to the viewers and stuff. There's no way I'm playing this game unless it's co-op, right? I'm a coward. I wish I was the bigger man. I do, but I'm not. And sometimes you just got to face those facts. And the same way that I was so disappointed that I wouldn't play the medium because it is single player and it does look creepy AF. It's the same, thing with this. Like, I'm very disappointed that I won't be able to play this. But I just do not do very good with scary, spooky games, and this game definitely looks very, very creepy to me. But graphically speaking, the game looks fantastic. I mean, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. Like the detail of just the teeth inside of the characters' mouths is ridiculous. And I love me some beautiful games, and it really does suck that I am not going to play this, and I wasn't able to play the medium. But with that being said, I think one thing that this shows very, very well is how powerful of a tool Game Pass is for Xbox, right? Because that seems to be a really, really big reason for GSC Games to even want to put this game on console, like in the first place, right? So I just how Game Pass is able to benefit these developers and even small, indie developers and attract them to the platform is incredible. And will the exclusivity, last forever? I don't know. I mean, honestly, if I was going to guess, probably not. I mean, the same way that, right now we're talking about Detroit Become Human potentially coming to Xbox, as like a rumor, right? Right. So, exclusivity kind of, can stay or go. But what you can't deny is that just the importance of Game Pass and the impact that it's currently having on the industry and all of the benefits that Xbox and Microsoft is reaping off of this. I mean, all of last generation, it was kind of a rarity to see Xbox playing these games and getting this type of exclusive content for their platform, and it's just kind of exciting to see them competing stronger with Sony on that front this new generation. And I think Game Pass has a lot to do with that. And yeah, I'm excited for all of you guys that are going to get to play it. I'm a little disappointed that I'm once again a coward. But I hope everyone enjoys the game for sure.
I mean, you know what? Hopefully, they'll hear your battle cry and say, you know what, we have to add a co-op mode to this.
Please, just more co-op. Like I don't understand Xbox right now. It's like the medium. I can't play that. Now this, I can't play that. It's like, what can I play? Come on, please. Give me
Resident Evil 8, unfortunately,
Oh,
doesn't seem
God.
like there's another co-op mode for that one. Even though, yeah, and you enjoyed Resident Evil 5, I
I
believe it was, because
did.
it did have
Yeah.
co-op.
Yeah, no, I love playing games like, the Medium, Stalker, like those spooky kind of games. I mean, you and me, we played Man of Medan. I thoroughly enjoyed that. We need to jump back into Little Hope sometime. But I really do enjoy playing those scary games with other people, for the moral support.
And FYI, folks, if you ever play a multiplayer game that's horror related, understand that Zemi is going to send you to your death.
Yes.
Because many more times than not, he was like, "Hey, Boom, you have to go first.
You have to go through the spooky door first because I don't want to get scared."
And he will send you to your death. Has it happened? I'm not going to say publicly, but it's potentially yes. Real quick before we get to the rest of the panel, Gerald Mack in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Good morning, Mr. Boomstick and panel. Great show as always. Late to the party, but I'm here. Late, but never unwanted, brother. Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for the generosity." And Tim swoops in and drops a $5 super chat. You like how I did that? "Hey, Boom and panel, best podcast ever. Love your content, and I'm a big gamer. Keep up the awesome work." Well, dude, thank you so much for the really kind words, and I'm glad that you're enjoying the content. Trust me, it warms my old man heart that people enjoy the content. And of course, it's great to have you here. And we had another one come in. Oh, Gerald Mack drops an additional $5 super chat. Says, "I would love for Microsoft and Xbox to purchase the Splinter Cell IP from Ubisoft and give us what we want." I listen, that would never happen because they understand what they have, Ubisoft. But I wish they would, force the issue by paying them a lot of money to publish the exclusive. You know what I'm saying? We've seen Sony do that before, work with third-party developers. Why not Microsoft? They have the money for it. So I mean, I agree with you. I think that we need to see that. JD Gamer, hey JD, welcome to the program, brother. He drops a $5 super chat and says, I would love to see Microsoft acquire Sega and WB Games, then turn IO, Techland, People Can Fly, Studio MDHR, Moon Studios, Mist Walker into second-party studios. I think some of that's going to come to fruition. I don't know how much of that list will. Techland, definitely. I think IO is something. I mean, we're gonna get to IO, what they're working on, which is supposedly a fantasy or IP that's new and an Xbox exclusive. I think that might be the one that Microsoft says, yeah, we got to make them a first party if they haven't already been talking. But Mav, let's go to you next on this one. Stalker 2 is a game that listen, on PC, it's still a very popular IP. There's no doubt about it. It has a huge cult following. The fact that Microsoft saw what they were doing with Stalker 2 and locked down this IP as an exclusive now, regardless of whether or not it's 3 months or a year, right now it's an exclusive. And it's a big exclusive for a couple of reasons. One, it looks gorgeous. It's going to be a very, very big game. But more importantly, it's more reason to do Game Pass if you are an Xbox player or someone potentially looking to join the platform. What are your thoughts on what the developer had to say regarding the exclusivity, but more importantly, the size of this game?
Well, it sounds like it's going to be huge. I mean, how many massive games is Xbox going to have in Game Pass, right?
Yeah, that's a great point, dude. Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing. I mean, they're not just going for what a lot of people have been saying, hey, this Game Pass filler, AA, indie titles. I mean, come on, we're talking about not only all of the massive, huge AAA RPGs, and then also games like Halo Infinite, possibly Forza Horizon 5 coming out this year, all these different things. But you're also talking about games like this, which is completely unique and different from all of the other experiences that we've been talking about. So it's not only massive, it adds another element of variety with the horror, open world, post-apocalyptic setting. It's just unique and different, right? And it's also a dev from another place in the world. They're branching out all over the place. I think these guys are from the Ukraine.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's just interesting that this franchise that a lot of console players aren't familiar with are going to get invited to experience this world that they've created, this franchise for the first time, and it's going to suck hours and hours and hours of our lives away, being terrified, traveling around this place. Man, I'm super excited for it because it looks like they're like pushing the boundaries on what they are capable of. Like as far as a dev, it looks like they're really going for it with this, and they're trying to make this the biggest thing they've ever done. And going with Xbox and Game Pass to make that happen is seeming like it's probably going to pay off for them because they're also going to get more spotlight than they've ever had before, right? So I expect to see possibly a lot about this at E3. That would be awesome. They didn't show it before. Remember we had the indie showcase thing, and then
Yes.
they talked about, hey, Stalker 2 is gonna be there. Then they kind of like retracted that, said, oh, we'll be there in a way, and then they showed like the character models with the teeth and all that stuff, right? So I think we could get like maybe they were holding it back for E3, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
So if this is actually going to be only on Xbox for a while, it might as well be a exclusive. I mean, for me, even games that launch on other platforms right now feels like a win for Xbox if they're in Game Pass, because it's such an extra enhanced value that's the value in of itself is exclusive, right? So even if like MLB The Show, it's like it feels like, hey, this is for us because if you're a Game Pass subscriber, because you get a better value, right? So even if this does come out after 3 months, ends up they surprise, hey, everybody is coming to PlayStation, it's coming to wherever, it was still a win for Xbox. It's still a win for Xbox's fans. It's still a win for the gamers that subscribe to Game Pass, and it's also a win for the dev. So
Yeah, no, you know what? Again, great exposure for the dev, a small team. And you're right. I think that who wins really here is the Xbox gamer.
Yeah, 100%. I'm super excited about this game because we don't know a lot about what this game is going to be yet, and the mystery of it has me intrigued because the glimpse that they showed was pretty astounding. It caught everybody's attention,
Yes.
right? So I can't wait to see more. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a bigger game, like as far as popularity than people realize right now. I mean, people are going to give this a chance, and I think they're going to get sucked into it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Pong, let's get your opinion on Stalker 2. This is a game I think, like Mav said, caught a lot of people by surprise, and it's being built from the ground up exclusively for the power of the Xbox Series X and S, and we know that they're going to be taking advantage of this the way that they would and the way that they did on the original, because the original was PC exclusive. Again, cult following. Love what we've seen so far, and I think I agree with Mav here. This potentially could be one of those big E3 surprises that we actually get a chance to see in the flesh. I think we might see it there. What are your thoughts and expectations for Stalker 2?
Yeah, Stalker. So anybody who didn't have the privilege of having a PC to play the original Stalker definitely missed out. Now, again, I'm a console-only player. There was a couple of games that I made sure I went to buddies' houses and lived there for a while. One of them, Diablo 2.
Yes.
And then Stalker was the other one. Okay. Again, I'm not a coward like Zemi. I have a problem with certain horror games as I get older. However, again, you give me weapons, you give me tons of ammo, you give me all the good stuff, and I'll take on anything. So, Stalker never had that feeling for me. Stalker is a little bit more psychological than it is jump scary. Because it's just super dark. So for anybody who did not have the privilege of playing the first Stalker game, this is going to be an eye-opening experience because we know how big Fallout is. Okay, take Fallout and turn it into a darker themed kind of game. That's what you have in Stalker. Okay, you have an expansive world. For anybody who doesn't know, Stalker is based upon the Chernobyl accident, right? The nuclear meltdown.
Correct.
This
Yes.
is an alternate reality where after the nuclear meltdown, um, uh, uh, like kind of these psychic anomalies and these abilities start showing up in people, right? And the zone that's cordoned off because of the meltdown is a hotspot, right? And scientists use it to experiment with all these anomalies and these new abilities. Okay, and then sometimes what happens is these anomalies create powerful objects, right? They have powers, okay? And so artifacts, let's call them. So what happens is a group of people called stalkers go into this zone illegally to hunt down these artifacts, okay? And that's kind of the premise of the game. So you've got the military trying to protect and keep people out. So you've got the military factions involved, and then within the zones themselves have developed other factions, right? And they all have their own ideas about what should be happening in the zone. So you have this big group of people divided up who all have different ideas, and some stalkers work alone and some stalkers work in groups, right, to find this stuff, because obviously this stuff is valuable, right? And that's what the premise of the game is. So within the zone, you've got creatures that have mutated, human beings that have mutated, and all sorts of crazy stuff going on within the zone. And that's the premise of Stalker. So you, as a stalker, get to go into the zone and you're hunting all this stuff down. Now that it gives you, I mean, this is why when I hear that they're expanding this game even further, and now they're talking about hundreds of hours if you want to do side missions, from what I remember when I played Stalker 1, this excites the hell out of me, because that means they took everything that made Stalker, the first one, great, and are now just growing it out even further. And again, when I say it's like Fallout, it is. You are meeting groups of people. You have to deal with different factions. Your decisions and what you want to do actually do make a difference and make an impact on how you play and where you're able to go and who you're fighting. So it's a big deal. And in the first Stalker, you had multiple endings as well. And some of those endings were based upon something as stupid as how much money you earned, okay, during the game, because you earn money, obviously, for gathering these artifacts.
Right.
So, but there's other things too. Again, they had branching stories and they had multiple expansions for the first Stalker that gave you different stories from different points of view from different people. So this game sounds incredibly aggressive and ambitious. And for the people that never got to experience Stalker, I think when they get their hands on Stalker 2, again, going into Game Pass, which is fantastic, you're going to have, probably by the point this comes out, if it does hit when they think it's going to, probably towards the latter half, holiday 2021, I would imagine, or fall, you're going to have, 30 plus million people with the opportunity to try a Stalker game for the first time. And again, with knowing how many Fallout fans are sitting out there right now, this could get a lot bigger and even a lot more popular than the first one did real quick if they hit it right. And it looks like from all the tech that they've shown us, this is going to be the first game that really has the potential, or one of the first, because we don't know when it's going to release, first games to show off the next gen hardware in all of its glory, because it looks like they're taking full advantage of all the features that are available. And those little short teasers that we got, and that, that obviously little showcase that we got at ID at Xbox, showing off how detailed each character model is, really could push the boundaries as to what we expect. And this has come from a smaller team. This is not a gigantic team. So I think this game has the potential to really grab a lot of people, because we're not going to have a new Fallout for a while. We got Fallout 76. We're not going to see new Fallout for years to come here with the way things are looking right now. This could fill that void, and a lot of people could fall in love with this game. And again, it's a huge deal for Game Pass. Whether the exclusivity is a short period or long period, we're not going to find out, because even if it ends after 3 months, they might not have actually developed, a PS5 version, which will take time for them to port over to the PS5. So it winds up becoming a longer exclusive anyways. I don't care. I want as many people as possible to get a hold of Stalker 2. But for the meantime, again, for those of us that have Game Pass Ultimate or Game Pass, who cares? We're getting it for free. We're not going to have to
Yes.
pay $70 or whatever they decide to put this out at over on the other side if it does come out over there. Who cares? Who cares at this point? I don't. I'm like Mav. I really don't care. It doesn't affect me because I know I'm set. I have my Game Pass. I'm getting it day and date, right? That's all that matters to me. But again, for anybody who is at all kind of interested, go back and read some of the stories about Stalker. There's still videos up. People are still playing it to this day. It
Yeah.
is a fantastic series. Again, if you liked Metro, that's from the group that broke off from the original team.
Yes, I'm glad you bring that up
Yes.
because that is exactly a great point that a lot of people don't know. That team
Yep.
that makes the Metro, made all 3 Metro games, were
Yes.
originally a part of the Stalker development house and
Yep.
broke off to make their own version of Stalker in Metro.
Exactly. And the influence is there. Again, it's still from what this description is for Stalker 2. And again, we won't know until we get our hands on it. But you're talking about an exponentially bigger version of Metro or like a Fallout where you can do, you can go explore as much as you want to and have all these side adventures that may be more memorable than even the main one is, right? And that is what gets my juices flowing. So I can't wait to see more. I think I'm like Mav and you, Boom. I think we may see it E3, especially if it's going to
Yes.
come out this year. I think we will have a bigger, like a full blowout kind of deal where they show some more gameplay and give us a release date if they're still in the works for this year. I definitely think that makes sense.
So again, this is a very interesting article, an interview that they talked about branching paths with these side quests
Exactly.
that open up to bigger
Yep.
parts of the game that you could logistically not ever find unless you're looking for.
Right.
I think that in itself tells me that not only is the lore something to be had, but these side missions. You know what, man? I mean, again, I go looking for everything, and like I always go down a path, and if it splits, I'll go to the right or the left. I never go straight to just do the story. And then this is what you saw very good in The Witcher, even though I'm not a big Witcher game fan. I know it's terrible to say. The game I thought was too big, and I hated the inventory system. But getting back to Stalker, I think that the branching paths will give you, like, if you really are into the lore, this is the game that looks like it's going to keep delivering time and time again. And you know what's crazy? It's not going to cost you nothing but your subscription. And that is just bananas. Again, adding more quality to Xbox Game Pass, proving that again, if you are someone that is not a part of the Xbox family, you're going to have to, I'm not saying you're going to have to, you're going to want to be a part of the conversation. And I think that is what we're starting to see all of the plans of Microsoft come to fruition. The $300 console, which I think is going to be $250 this fall, Game Pass, playing online. It's Phil's plan is coming to fruition right in front of Verizon. It's a very exciting time. But before I get on to the next topic, I have to catch up on some of these incredible super chats that have come in. Gamers Play HUD Zero. He, after drops a $2 super chat, says, boom, Nathan's Arcade forged HUD Zero. I miss it a lot. Yeah, dude, those were the days. And that's cool that we see, again, the world is not that big. Dan the Man Cunningham drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, good morning, Boom and panel. May the Schwartz be with you indeed. What a great film. What a fantastic parody on Star Wars. Spaceballs is just awesome. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, just showing support for Boom and the panel. In the words of Ice-T, you are all players. I love it, dude. Thanks for being here. And Toto Dope drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, would you guys bring Mooch on the show one day? I think you guys would have fun. As a matter of fact, the history with me and Mooch goes very deep. It's because of him I got into podcasting, and that's because of his generosity that allowed me to join Crossfire as a community member that came on once, and I did my check mark. Everyone has their bucket list. Me was to get on a podcast, and it happened once, twice, and then he invited me on to be a regular panel member, and I did that for 2 long, awesome years, and I'll never thank Mooch enough for giving me the opportunity. But if he's home, maybe we'll get him on one day. Mooch and I are still great friends, and he does a lot. For we don't agree on everything, that is for sure. But he does a lot on Crossfire on Friday evenings. But I do want to move on to topic number 2, and let's see. Well, actually, it would be technically topic number 3. I want to do a little Halo talk here. Listen, this fall, Halo Infinite should be everything and anything all the Xbox communities have been asking for, and we should be doing nothing but talking about this game post E3 2021 for an abundance of reasons. Now, besides the 11 plus months of polish to the single player campaign that has happened, the multiplayer aspect is certainly still cloaked by a massive shadow of secrecy. Now, thanks to a story that I pulled from the pages of Game Rant, we now know that 343i's newest addition to the shooter box, known as Xbox, has the Chief coming back in a big way, but more importantly, he's bringing with him for multiplayer 2 things that are going to set it apart from many of the other shooters on the market. First of all, besides the Halo lore, besides obviously Spartan versus Spartan, which is still some of the best online gaming I've personally ever experienced, you're going to be getting day 1 120 frames per second support. And new to the series, there's going to be a free-to-play mode opening the door for many new fans. Now, subtly, Microsoft has been introducing the Chief to many new gamers. Obviously, he's in Fortnite, and we're seeing people use him, especially the younger generation, use him more now than ever. We have word that during E3 2021, Microsoft's Phil Spencer could potentially announce on stage, on the Nintendo stage of all places, that Master Chief is a confirmed character for Smash Brothers. Again, opening this new character, this old character to new gamers. But one of the things in this story that I got very excited for, because depending on who you ask as a Halo player, everyone has their favorites. Me personally, Halo 3 is probably my favorite multiplayer of all time in all of the Halos. Now, I understand that 5 did a lot with Warzone. I take nothing away from what they did then. But for me personally, Halo 3 still reigns supreme. And we're hearing that because it was so popular and because they're now listening to the fans, that's talking about us, the people that are going to be in the trenches playing these games or playing Halo Infinite, Halo 3's abilities are going to be coming back in a big way. Now, I don't know if that's the bubble shield. I don't know if it's we know dual wielding is not coming back, but there's a lot of supposed, again, rumored to be coming back regarding Halo 3. I'm super, super stoked. But it's something. What I really enjoy about what we're going to potentially get is they could easily just fall back on how incredible Warzone was and make a great single player campaign. I think we would all be very happy with that. But they're going to really do some big things on PC. And something else to add to the conversation regarding new things and what they have in store for PC players is crossplay with console players. Now, some people may dig that and not. Super ultra wide support and triple key binds. Now, I don't know what triple key binds means. I don't play on PC, so I don't know. But apparently, Halo Infinite on PC is being built from the ground up with the platform's strength in mind. Now, we do have an update to the story regarding of what we're going to see during E3 2021. And this comes from creative director Joseph Staten, who said that 343 Industries has glorious plans in place for Halo Infinite's update this summer. And this is what he had to say. While I hope you enjoyed this month's 1,000 word screenshots, we know that video games are worth at least 10,000 words. And the great news is that this summer, i.e., game industry event season, is just around the corner, and we have glorious plans for all of the Halo fans around the world. Zemi, I got to go first to you because you are one of our biggest Halo fans. When you hear that we're getting 120 frames per second day one, when you hear that it's going to be free to play, more people potentially going to jump in. But now getting word from Joseph Staten that we're going to see that they have glorious plans. What are your expectations for Halo Infinite at E3 2021?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'd be lying if I said that I've been thinking about it every single day. I have been thinking about it, but not every single day.
Hashtag boo Zemi.
Hashtag boo Zemi. I've made this idea very public, and it's, I am excited for Halo. I'm really excited for Halo. I love Halo. I can't wait to see what they do. And I've also said that, on the show many times publicly that I hope that they bring multiplayer back in a big way, and that Halo becomes the king of multiplayer shooters again, at least on Xbox, right? But I'm also trying to temper my expectations because I was really not very impressed with Halo 5's story, Halo 4's multiplayer. I just don't feel that 343's really hit it out of the park yet. So I'm really tempering those expectations. At E3, I really hope that we see more gameplay from the story. Of course, we kind of get a better idea of how exactly is the single player going to be played. Because it kind of looks open world, but they've said that it's not really open world, and I really kind of want to see how you're going to be interacting with the and navigating around the environments of the game to experience the story. Of course, I want to see multiplayer. Like, I really want to see multiplayer at this E3's event. I mean, ultimately, I would like to see every bit of probably 20 minutes of, Halo Infinite, from, developer interviews to actual gameplay video to, watching somebody maybe even play multiplayer and have commentary on the backside of that. I definitely think that Halo is going to play a huge part this E3. We're definitely going to get a lot of news, a lot of information for the game. Because, hey, it's coming out this year, right? I believe November, right? Like, that's what all of us are kind of thinking, and I think
I'm pretty sure it's going to be November 15th, just to celebrate the official 20 years of both the Xbox and the Master Chief. I think, and again, I know that I've actually had people DM me and say, like, how are we as podcasters, as an Xbox show, going to celebrate it? As we get closer to the end of the year, we're going to be doing special event podcasts celebrating Xbox in its 20 years, and we're going to look back at some of the biggest titles. Again, it's not going to be a one show thing. I think that we're going to run that through the whole month of November so we can celebrate it in a proper manner. But please continue, Zemi.
Yeah, no, I mean, so we're looking at potentially a November launch date. I mean, it's May right now. It just became May. I mean, the year is flying by super quick. Next month, I believe, is June, if I still know how to look at a calendar. And we're looking at E3, right? It's going to be no time until this game is launching into Game Pass, and there's still a lot of information that needs to be put out. So I expect a really that Halo Infinite is going to have a big section of this year's E3 showing, and I can't wait to watch it and see it and have a lot of my questions answered on how is the game going to really ultimately play, and really what does it look like right now. Like, they've shown us some incredible screenshots that look night and day difference from what we saw last year. But seeing a screenshot and seeing live video on screen are two very different things. So I'm very, very excited for E3. I'm really excited to see Halo, but I'm also trying to temper my expectations because I do, remember 343's history so far with Halo. And that doesn't mean that they can't come out and make a banger. A lot of what I'm seeing for Halo has me really excited. Their new approach of, mixing, the old Halo features with the new, adding in the Halo 3 ranking system for social, adding in some of the old school Halo 3 maps and abilities, I think is an excellent move. I think we've been hearing about them potentially adding in a free to play mode that's going to do wonders to help Halo become more competitive with Call of Duty Warzone and Fortnite and Apex Legends and all these other free to play games. And it's no surprise that those are super popular because they are free to play and they really welcome in new audiences that way. So I think that Halo is doing a lot of things right, but I just need to see more from them for me to really, really finally go to the rooftop and scream, to everyone that I cannot wait for this game to come out, and I'm super excited. But as it stands, I will be playing it day one. I'm super excited to see E3. I can't wait to see more information about it.
There are a couple people in the chat are very excited. One person I got to see if I could remember what the heck is it. Said they're so excited they're going to purchase it. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm hoping that they go balls to the wall like they did with Halo 3. I'm talking about a new console, special edition console, controllers, you name it. I'm getting in on the ground floor. Now, Microsoft isn't giving me nothing. My show is too small to get any promotional stuff, so I'm going to be buying it out of my pocket, and I honestly don't care. I hope that they release a Series X because I will rebuy one. Again, more controllers, whatever else they want to add to this game. They not only have to release a game, and I believe they're going to release one of the best Halos of all time. I think that one of the biggest issues that many people walked away from the July 23rd show of last year was not the gameplay in Halo. A lot of people were bent out of shape. As you see, I just got murdered by a trap. It was awful. That were just not wowed by the graphics. There was some pop in. Look, I walked away looking at that gameplay, and I was floored because it was new. It was a lot of new stuff, but it also felt familiar, and not familiar in a way that was boring. It felt familiar in a way that got me excited to play an open world Halo game. But when you add Joseph Staten to the conversation, and then you turn around and you say, "Well, they've been polishing this game for what is going to be in June 11 months, and they're still going to be polishing the game because the game doesn't come out for another 4 months after that." This is going to probably be a stunner of a Halo, and I think that we may even get those same feelings that when you first put on Halo 4 on the Xbox 360 and you're like, I can't believe what my eyes are seeing. I think we're going to get that. I really think we're going to be wowed by it. Mav, I want to get your opinion on some of the information that we have on Halo Infinite. Again, it's very cryptic. There's not a lot to go here, but they are constantly giving us updates monthly. And of course, I'm talking about 343 Industries giving us some backstory. When you heard the head of 343, which is now Joseph Staten, he has reclaimed the throne, and hopefully he winds up taking over the position full time. I think we're going to get something special. Where did your confidence fall for what we're going to see at this year's E3 when you hear Joseph Staten says we have glorious plans for the fan base?
Well, glorious plans gives me glorious expectations. So now is not the time for tempering for me personally. It's the time for boiling. I mean, I've freaking been waiting for a new Halo game since Halo 5, which was it wasn't like Halo 5 wasn't necessarily like a disappointment for me as much it was a disappointment that everything around Halo was disappointing around the time. Like the hype fizzled out. People were trashing it. People were not excited for Halo anymore. And there was all this build up that led to like this overall disappointment from the community and everything. And it kind of it's stagnated now over the course of this whole generation, right? And we're getting this buildup and this renewed focus of hype now again, and it's bringing everybody back to Halo, where we're getting excited. We're getting updates from the Master Chief Collection constantly. We're getting all this cool stuff. They just released a new map, you know, and then you come out and you have Joe Staten back with the team in charge of Halo and giving news like this and updates like this, saying the words like glorious and stuff. It just like it gives me all this hope of my favorite game franchise of all time rising back from the ashes to prominence and becoming again number one shooter in console gaming. And I think it is going to happen because 343 is with the problems that they have had in the past, they are extremely talented. What they've needed is direction, and I think
guidance. Yes, 100%.
I think one of the forefathers of Halo, one of the guys that is maybe him and Marty O'Donnell, personally, I hold as two people that are the most responsible for me for what I love about Halo, right? And to have one of those guys back on the team in charge at a high up position, directing things now, making sure everything, you can just sense it, you can feel it, you can just tell that, hey, they fumbled the ball with the whole reveal thing they did before. Personally, I was still excited about what I saw.
I mean, if you look at the screen, this does not look bad. This is the July 23rd showing. I would be excited to play this game, but I'm happy that they delayed it to make it better.
It's just going to be better. It's just going to look better. It's going to play better. They're taking all of the hardcore fans' notes and everything to tweak it to just give us the supreme Halo experience. You know, I think this game, Halo Infinite, is going to be played probably more than any other Halo game in this next generation.
I agree.
More than any other Xbox game this next generation. Like, period. I think this Halo Infinite is going to be number one Xbox of the generation, and it's going to keep getting updated and updated year after year, and it's going to launch with just looking gorgeous and lots of content. And I think they're going to surprise us at E3 with a bunch of amazing news and a bunch of amazing stuff, or maybe a separate little Halo event they could have around it. Because he did say like it's the like gaming conference season, right? He didn't say necessarily E3, right? So maybe it's big enough.
Maybe you know something that's
give it its own light.
I like what you're putting down here because I want to add something to this conversation there, Matt. First of all, great on you for bringing this up. And I want to say this. Halo, listen, I get it with a lot of people. Oh, it's just Halo. You know what? You could say the same shit about, oh, it's just God of War. Oh, it's just Uncharted. Oh, it's just whatever. You know what? The same way you get excited for a new Horizon that's coming out, which I am. If you're not excited for Halo, you know what? I hear you. But there is, it is a classic IP, and just because it's an old IP does not mean it can't come back in a big way. And I think we're going to get that. And I think you're onto something here. I think that Halo is so big. I think it's so relevant and so important to Xbox that it should absolutely, in fact, during the E3 or even before, get its own 1 hour conference. You know what I'm saying? Get its own time to breathe.
Yeah, I think it deserves it. I think it needs it. I think there's going to be too much to just give us a little 10-minute gameplay glimpse. And plus, when you do something like that, you only leave this vertical slice for people to judge and analyze. You're not taking in the whole bigger picture and the scope of what everything this game is. And that's one of the mistakes they made with how they showed it the last time. They just took an unfinished product and hit in gameplay on that was even old, and then here's a segment of the game, and let's not really give you any other details that much, right? Like They need to do a deep dive on Halo. They need to have a Halo event, and at that Halo event, also show us the first footage of that Halo TV series that's coming out next year. Build the hype on the Halo, because Halo is more than just a game. It's a universe. It's a world. They have so many stories they can tell. Halo Wars 2 just got an FPS boost. I'm excited to go and check that out again because it desperately needed it. I am super hyped for this because if Halo Infinite succeeds and we keep building this hype, that means we're going to get more Halo everything.
Yeah.
And I love Halo Star Wars is a thing, for gaming, Halo is that thing, right? And there's no other game franchise that's capable of as much with that kind of lore and expansions and different stories and all these different things than Halo. So this is a huge event. We don't get one of these every year. It's not Call of Duty. It's not Battlefield. We don't get one of these every couple of years. It's been, how long has it been since we got Halo 5?
5 years. It'd be 6 years this year.
It's a huge event, right? And Halo, it's time for Halo to come back. And I think the excitement and the hype and the general overall feeling for Halo and the overall community that's not even just Halo fans is starting to turn a little bit to where they're starting to get excited again for this franchise.
I agree.
And I hope that keeps going. I think they're going to nail it.
Well, you know what? I think what they're doing at 343, and I think that this may be Joseph Staten's, I don't say it's fault, his reasoning for these updates, constantly giving us updates on what's going on. I think he might be at the core of that, and if that in fact is the case, his leadership skills immediately jump right out to the front.
Reminds you of Bungie.net back in the day, doesn't it? A little bit.
I mean, it does. It definitely gives us some vibes, and he obviously worked with Bungie for years, right? So it's something that the brand needed. I'm very happy to know that it was delayed. I think they did the right thing. Obviously, if it would have launched in its current state, it would have never recovered. I like that they said, you know what, we're just going to take, our time with this. They gave him plenty of time to polish. I mean, we've heard people, even Joseph Staten said he's played the game through multiple times and he loves it. And he loves the story, which I think the story in itself is going to be massive. The fact that the banished or the main crux of the story, which is an extension from Halo Wars 2, is huge. The fact that we may get the Flood to return, there's a lot to be excited here. But I gotta hear from Pong Soul. Pong, you always know how to take this conversation to and turn it up to 11. Seeing what we got in front of us, okay. This wasn't the greatest showing, but we know that they're going to come back in a big way. And if polish was the only thing that they needed to do, I think what we're going to get, besides a great story, besides classic Halo returning, we're going to get one of the best looking ones in the series. Where are your expectations based on what Joseph Staten just had to say?
My expectations are off the charts. Again, we've talked about this so much, Boom, and it's so important to Xbox to have Halo in a healthy spot and doing well. It is just important because it is what made Xbox Xbox. And so for all those reasons, when you think about the history and what it means as a franchise, not only just to Xbox, but into video games in general, you always want to see these guys succeed. And 343 has taken their share of criticism, much of it not warranted, some of it warranted. But I think at the end of the day, they are going to do right by this franchise. And, again, you're never going to make everybody happy. I'm sorry to say, gamers have a way of finding something about about any game to not like if it's not exactly what they wanted, which it rarely is. So at the end of the day, 343, I think I think they've found the balance, especially with Joseph Staten coming back. I've said this multiple times, but there's just this strange feeling that suddenly, and again, it might be a combination of the year delay, along with Joseph coming back, but there's just this weird feeling that the chaos around Halo Infinite died down. And again, A lot of it was not 343's fault when you take into consideration that there was a pandemic going on, and we've seen the problems it's caused giant studios and small studios alike. But at the same time, to have that stability when Joseph Staten came back and kind to give that expert eye, one of the original creators of Halo, to give his eye to his old baby and to say, this is working, this is where we need to kind of polish this stuff up. But to give his eye, give his critical eye, and be able to point out some aspects that need work on, but also to praise the team for what he obviously liked. He thought, I mean, I think there's been many quotes from him that he loved the story and how it turned out, and they didn't really go back and change a whole lot to the story.
No, they're just polishing. They're literally
it's
not changing anything.
Exactly. So to get that kind of confidence boost to a team that kind of been taking hits from all sides, from a man of Joseph Staten's stature within the Halo franchise, is probably a big deal and probably helped calm some nerves down. And I think that what we've seen, the roadmap that they've kind of laid out to us, and these updates again, feels like the old days of Halo when we got a consistent drip of information, and each time we got another drip, it was another quality drip, right? It wasn't something that left a bitter taste in our mouth at all. It's something that said, okay, now I can see what you guys are doing over there. All right, now I get it. Look at this. Look at this improvement that you guys have done. Look at this. Look at that. And again, like you talked about, Boom, like Mav talked about, that old feeling of Halo is definitely there. Again, I'm not a fanatical fan. I'm a casual Halo fan. I've enjoyed all the Halos. I haven't had a problem with any of them. I don't have that critical eye for them, but to hear the guys who are, like you, Boom, and like Mav, to say it had that old feeling, I could definitely see where that came across. And I think as long as they keep that intact, fix the obvious issues that were there, which was obviously part of the plan, I don't think they ever intended upon releasing it the way that it was. I'd love to hear the story as to why they showed what they did at the time and what the decision process was in that. But I don't think they ever had the intention of releasing it that way. But at the same time, now that we have this extra year, we're seeing the results and the final vision of what they always intended this to be. It's not going to make everybody happy, but they have a supposed 10-year plan for
Yes.
This is not
with multiple side stories.
Right. This is not the typical Halo that we've received where we're going to get the Halo, you're going to play through the campaign, and then it's just going to be multiplayer nonstop, although some people love to do that. This is going to be an ever-expanding game, right? This is going to be a game that continues to give us new content down the road. So it is vital for them to have it hit right away to grab people and create that sense that people want to stick around in the universe waiting for that next content drop. And part of it is the multiplayer, because obviously if people are still engaged with the multiplayer, the minute that there's a campaign drop and you're able to hop in with your buddies, whether it's 3 other buddies or whatever the limit is, and you're able to hop in and go experience that content with your friends that you're now playing the multiplayer with, that's a huge deal. That keeps people engaged. And again, engagement is the new buzzword, but that's what they're going for with this Halo Infinite. And I think they're setting up a base, a world where people are going to want to stick around in and continue to be, grow with the game. And if they want to make this 10-year plan work, obviously they have to do something to bring back the old fans, as well as grab those new fans and bring those people in. Game Pass is going to go a long way to doing that. The free-to-play aspect of it is going to go a long way to doing that. And I think that what we're seeing here and what we all expect to see at E3 is a culmination of everything that's happened up to this point. Sometimes you have to take a step back in order to go forward. And with what happened last year and the decision that was made to, again, delay it for a year to give the team more time, I think in the end and ultimately will be the biggest benefit and the biggest turning point for Halo Infinite when we look back on it. And if it hits right and it becomes that franchise again, that people, again, it never really went away. And there's so much competition out there. We're never going to get back to the days where, we saw newscasts about, people waiting out in line for 3 days for the next Halo and mobs and it's not like that anymore. There's too much competition. Nothing does that really anymore. But at the same point, we get back to the point where everybody's talking about Halo, or waiting for that next content drop or those new maps to show up, whatever it is, right? If we get back to that point again where it's constantly on people's minds, they've done their job, and this 10-year plan, it could be a reality.
You know what? I'm going to say this. If you saw what when they were showing what the team did right after the Craig reveal, obviously when Craig the Brute, right? They were all wearing Craig the Brute t-shirts. I think Phil Spencer actually shared that photo because he stopped by the studio. And I love that how it became a thing. I'm going to say this right now, and I know people from Xbox listen to this show. Who they are, I'm not sure. I know that Larry Herb every now and again tunes in, which is pretty dope. I'm going to say this. If there's one particular idea that I hope that they take and run with, and you don't have to give me any credit whatsoever. I want to see this come to fruition. I think it would almost be a wasted opportunity not to take Craig the Brute and make him a part of the UNSC. And you say to yourself, well, why would they do that? Well, because the Banished, they killed his family and he wants revenge, and the only way he can get it, because he's not strong enough to do it himself. Again, why not make this Craig the Brute have an original story based on the memes? How freaking cool would that be as one of those side stories to push this along for the 10-year plan? I think it's a fantastic idea. Now, does Microsoft think it's a fantastic idea? Does 343? I don't know. But I think that they need to do something with that character, not just make him a t-shirt. They should
it's a part
take
of their history now.
Yeah, 100%.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, 100%. But listen, again, this is I could talk about Halo all day. I'm very excited for this year for a couple of reasons. Obviously, it's the 20th anniversary of Xbox. It's the 20th anniversary of Master Chief and Halo Combat Evolved, and we're getting a new Halo. And so there is a lot to get excited about, but I definitely want to move on to the last topic of the show. This one's pretty big and meaty, but I definitely have to catch up on some of the super chats. We had Kirby Louise drop an additional $5 super chat and says, mega happenings, emails revealed by Epic versus Apple in court between Phil Spencer and Tim Sweeney confirmed that Microsoft was and probably still is working on xCloud on other consoles. That's pretty freaking interesting. Lucius Augustus drops a very generous $5 super chat and says the game needs to be a banger. Halo needs this. Xbox needs a solid win that will propel the platform forward. I think it is going to be the start of hit after hit after hit, because we know for the most part, right, we're getting Avowed. We know we're getting a Perfect Dark. We know we're getting a Fable. We know we're getting all of these. We're getting a new we're getting 2 new Forzas, a bunch Starfield, a whole bunch of other games. But I honestly think that Halo is going to be the start of when we look and see that they have turned a corner in regards to, no longer missing these AAA bangers. We see some people in the community say there's been 600 days since there's been a AAA banger. Well, I don't know what people are talking about, because there's been quite a few since then. And yes, one is Gears 5, which is a banger, and the last was the Forza Horizon 4, which is still a banger. So I don't know what people are talking about, but I think we're going to see a very different Xbox in this generation, and we're already seeing it, folks. We are already seeing that come to fruition. We had XTH27 drop a very generous $5 super chat and says, hope everyone on the panel has a great day. Well, I hope you have a great day too, brother, and thank you for the generosity. And Dan Lazaro drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, the older you get, the more you temper expectations for everything. or you're always going to be disappointed. People now expect everything to be a 10 out of 10. You know, it's funny. I just want to add about expectations for E3. Now, I recently discovered a new podcast. And I've listened to it. I just never listened to it consistently, and I do now, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm talking about the Xbox Era podcast. And one of the hosts is a gentleman by the name of Special Ed. And this is an industry insider that knows a lot of shit. And on last week's episode, where they had Miles Dompierre as a guest, he says, listen, when talking about Microsoft's conferences, I always tell people it's Microsoft. You know what you're going to get. Temper expectations. Well, apparently, he has gotten a bird's eye view of what's going to be shown, and he actually said live on the podcast, "This is the one time I tell you, don't temper your expectations," he said, because what I have seen, which I cannot disclose, they are really bringing it at this E3. So take that for what it's worth, and based on what Special Ed had to say. And I'm expecting some big things. But again, folks, let's get into the final topic, and this is one of the bigger topics of the show for sure. When you talk about IO Interactive, right, it's easy to equate them with Hitman, because that's pretty much all they've done for quite some time. They just released Hitman 3 to unbelievable both critical response and success, but commercial success as well. Now they are on their own, doing their own thing. They recently announced that they are doing and confirmed that Project 007 is an original James Bond game that they're working on. But in a story that I pulled from WCCF Tech, we have some new information that they're working on another IP. And apparently it's a fantasy IP. It's a dream project for the lead producer. And it looks like it potentially could be an Xbox exclusive. Now, according to CEO I believe it's Hakan A. Abrak, he recently hinted in a video interview with GameIndustry.biz that not only are they working on James Bond and continuing the support for Hitman 3, but they're working on several other projects. Now, this is what Hacken had to say. He says, "We've created 4 IPs from scratch. We're always in incubate. We always have incubation and R&D going. We always have these crazy ideas and worlds and characters that we are thinking of. Without going into too much detail, we have a third universe that we're working actively on, which is a bit different and absolutely a love child of this company. It is something our core people, our veteran staff, have been dreaming about for some time. So I'm equally excited with this particular one as one of our other 2 universes." Now, according to a fresh report penned by Windows Central, the third game in development at IO Interactive could be an Xbox exclusive due to it being published by Microsoft. Also, Eurogamer has independently corroborated the report with their own sources, so it looks more and more likely that this is true. Now, panel, I have to go to you immediately, and I want to go to Zemi Games. Zemi, you are one of our biggest RPG fans, and you can't get enough of them. To know that IO Interactive is actively working on a third IP, one of which is fantasy based, that would really potentially put Microsoft on the fast track to being the platform for open world RPGs based on what they have coming out. Obviously they have Avowed, they have Fable, they have everything coming from Bethesda, and now another one. What are your thoughts on this, dude?
I'm happy. I love RPGs, man. I love Western like RPGs, fantasy RPGs, sci-fi RPGs, whatever it may be. I love me some RPGs. And one thing that I thought was very, very disappointing last generation was there was really a pretty big like lapse and fantasy like RPGs and just kind of Western RPGs in general compared to what we got during the 360 generation. We just really did not get a tremendous number of, high quality AAA RPGs. And to think this generation, I mean, we have Hogwarts Legacy, which I'm really excited for. I mean, that's a fantasy RPG, right?
Right.
Avowed, Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age 4. I mean, like the list just keep on going on, right? But let's just take it a step further than that. Just fantasy and kind of medieval games just in general. I mean, you can also throw Hellblade up into the conversation. And whenever looking at PlayStation, we always see first, like their first party lineup is, third person, mature, kind of gritty, very amazing, single player games. And it really kind of seems like Xbox, what they're doing is RPGs, with a huge emphasis on fantasy, RPGs with Fable. So I mean, it definitely seems like Xbox, if you are a fan of RPGs, specifically, Western fantasy RPGs, Xbox is your box, right? And then adding in that, this new, title could potentially be, a second party Xbox exclusive or what have you. It's incredible. I mean, I'm overjoyed. It's my favorite genre for sure, right? And we didn't, like I said before, we got a ton of games like that in this genre during the 360 generation. Barely anything for the Xbox One generation. So to see this genre have such a huge comeback, during the Xbox Series generation is incredibly exciting for me. I cannot wait. I love IO Interactive. I'm a big fan of the Hitman franchise, and I'm very interested to see what they're working on, and I'm excited. I'm excited for all these fantasy RPGs, but now I'm just excited for another one.
Well, you know what I love about this story is what it proves to me is Microsoft is not just looking through a telescope and pinpointing that they need stuff, now. This is stuff that the Star Wars, game that's currently potentially in development. Multiple Star Wars games, from what we understand, they are looking to satisfy gamers now. And you know something, using Xbox Game Pass is probably the best thing that they ever thought of, because they really did pull several pages out of Sony's book, because obviously when the PlayStation 4 first came out, didn't have a lot of good games, and it took years to get these bangers. Remember, they were sprinkled out there, but you didn't start seeing them constantly come out like you did in 2018, 2019, and 2020, right? That took years to get there. So seeing stories like this excites me for a lot of reasons, because Microsoft has shown us what's coming in the next 2 to 3 years, but this is a game that may not come out for 4 years, and it's going to follow on the heels of Avowed. It's going to follow on the heels of Fable. These games have the potential to be AAA bombs for Xbox, and they're exclusive, and they're in Xbox Game Pass. So great points as always. We had a super chat just come in from Reggie Mobile 9, who drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Great show, Boom and panel. I'm a huge RPG fan, so the more RPGs is always a great thing. This generation looks like it's going to be the golden age in the making." Indeed, I absolutely agree with you for sure. Mav, let's get your opinion on this. When you hear these rumors, and it's usually from one source, or it's from a Reddit post, or it's from someone on Twitter, you gotta kind of take it with a grain of salt. But when you start hearing people like Jez Corden talk about it, and people like Special Ed from Xbox Era, and now we're having other people like Eurogamer corroborate these rumors into actual facts, where do you sit on an IO Interactive Xbox published new fantasy, potentially open world RPG?
I sit happily. Dude. All right. So where there's smoke, there's fire, and this time there's multiple smokes, right? There's this person said it, this person said it, this person said it,
and they're all credible sources. I think that's the
exactly
important part of the conversation.
It's not just some random guy that, sometimes you get like somebody that claims, hey, I have an inside source, and nobody's ever heard of this person before, right? And those things can tend to spread at times because they come up with some intriguing or almost factual looking information or whatever. But this is like people we like have learned to trust because they have been right all the time. You know what I mean? So when it's these people, like you tend to listen, and when it's several of these people, you tend to think, okay, well, that's just what's going on, right? Like for me, this is no longer rumor territory, personally. Now, what they also did say is that, hey, this is early. This project is early in development. It's possibly still in the like planning phases and stuff. So things could change.
It may not even be
right?
at pre-production at this point. Right.
Right. Things like this happen and may get canceled before. We were never supposed to know about this, right? And there's a lot of projects out there that happen that we don't ever know about that have gotten canceled or whatever, right? So there's, I think Miles said it on their video that he did. It's important for us to keep our expectations in check on this one, just because it would be, if this does come to fruition and they continue with this project, it would be years away. And the other thing is that anything can happen, or it could even change scope of what it is, right? So that's one thing. Now, when I just think about, okay, but if everything actually happens like according to plan right now, then I get really excited because holy crap, this is sounds really cool. It also, they said it was like an online connected world. Is one of the things they had mentioned that the game was.
Yes.
And that sounds really cool. It's fantasy, RPG, IO. It's a different thing for them. Like we haven't really seen them work on something like this. So that always gets me excited. And starting up a new team for it. There's a lot of cool things about this because it's good for IO. It shows that IO, if this is happening and this proceeds, they're on fire right now.
Yeah.
Right? They got Hitman was a success. They got the Bond thing they're working on, and then they got this project, and they're an independent studio. It's just growing, right? Like, it's amazing to see that. So I'm super happy that a solid dev is having all this faith put in them and trust put in them. Seems like a lot of people are wanting to work with them right now, right? Microsoft reaching out to IO maybe to replace what didn't happen with Platinum with a fantasy open world connected online game. It wouldn't necessarily be Scalebound, but it could be something similar. It sounds intriguing, sounds exciting. I want to see it. I can't wait till we eventually possibly get a reveal of something like this. So, it seems like all of the dots are clicking here, right? So, dude, it just shows the investment in gaming is so high right now. Because we keep having these rumors and these things happen for multiple. Like we just were talking before we went live about the coalition thing, right? And now there's this, and dude, how many games are we gonna get on Xbox Game Pass that are just mind-blowingly big, right? And different and varied.
The scope of what Microsoft is doing behind the scenes, that we only have a pinch of ideas, right? We only know a small piece of what they're doing. Again, the plans moving forward, there's going to be so much content coming from first party that we're not going to know what to do with ourselves. And on top of the first party stuff, you still have a lot of the second party and third party stuff that's coming into Xbox Game Pass. Again, I say this not to be like an Xbox fanboy. If you're not part of the ecosystem, you are truly missing the mark, because there is so much going on with Xbox that if you already had a backlog, you better start playing some games, because it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, like Stalker 2 as well. We were just talking about that. Like, that's not a first party game, but it's coming to Game Pass, and it's not coming on any other platforms this year. That's still, it has the same effect for Xbox as a first party exclusive, right?
What 100%. You know, and you know when you listen, perfect example. When you add like, look, say what you want about Second Extinction. You and I, we have the same opinion. This game gets a 9 out of 10 for me in preview.
Yeah.
I can't stop playing it, right? But when you add games like Stalker 2, like Second Extinction, like Tunic, like The Ascent, like all of these other games that they showed off that are coming this year, that are only available on Xbox. I think that 2021 could potentially be the biggest for the brand. That only, and again, I say only, I'm not trying to be like, you know, facetious here. I say only because we don't know. I still think Starfield is September or October. I think Forza is September or October, and Halo is in November. I think those are the three AAA bombs first party this year. And when you add those to this conversation, it's what they, again, this conversation, what we're talking about is not so much what's coming this year. It's games like this. It's, you know, it's the James Bond game. I mean, how do we know what James Bond is releasing for? Because we don't. What happens if Microsoft sees James Bond, what it looks like, and they see this new fantasy IP and they say, you know something, we are in the business of adding to, and someone said it in the chat, they missed the $12 billion mark for Discord, right? They didn't buy them. They backed out of that deal, meaning Discord. They're having this money they have to spend. I would not be surprised if IO Interactive is one of those teams because they fit the profile. If you follow the business, like, and I follow the business unbelievably to the point where I think I follow it too much. IO, it fits the profile of what they would want. I can see them becoming a first party and getting a James Bond locked up as an exclusive IP, getting this new fantasy IP as an exclusive. What do you think about that, Matt?
Absolutely, it's anything's on the table when MLB The Show hits on Game Pass day one, right? I mean, it's just like they're willing to make deals with people. The Xbox is in a spending mood right now on deals, right? And so is Sony for that matter. They've proven that too. So that's going to keep happening over with that side. But as far as Xbox, like they got more money, so yeah. Guess what? There's going to be more spending. This 12 billion that you said, you know, didn't get spent on Discord. That's just, hey, money that's freed up. They can spend on other things now. They even though there's not like there was a limit, you know, they're in this heavy building phase right now, and the rumors of what's coming at E3 are going to, if this everything comes to fruition of what these rumors are from people like Jez Corden and stuff doing their Twitter emojis, you know, teases, then our world is going to change in the world of gaming. And it's not going to be something where we're just thinking, oh, what's going to come to Game Pass? You know, how big is Game Pass going to get? It's just going to be an explosion of games coming to Game Pass and services coming to Game Pass. Microsoft reinvesting in the platform to grow subscriptions. That's what it's all about for them right now. Subscriptions. What does it take for them to get 100 million? They're willing to spend what it takes to get them to get 100 million, right? So they're driving. They're in the spin phase. They're driving their costs towards acquisitions and deals that are going to drive people to their platform and would be willing to pay monthly to have a sustained access to great games for a long period of time. And they're going to keep spending until they get where they need to go, where they need to get, and that's what they're doing right now. It's not going to stop, and they're going to keep adding new studios. They're going to keep making deals with these game companies because they have a vision, and they're being bullish about it, and it's going to happen. So, hey, people are not used to this from Microsoft in the gaming world, right? But it's a reality now. So. I'm curious how soon it's going to happen, like what the next news is. But from people that I've talked to, it's not just Microsoft that's excited about their direction. it's also the other publishers and everybody else is excited about what Microsoft is doing, and they're all wanting to get on board with it.
Yeah.
So things are changing right now. It's an exciting time.
It certainly is. Pong, let's get your final opinion on this, brother. Hearing all of this new information, where do you sit on a new fantasy IP from IO Interactive? Again, we don't know. I mean, I've called them. We've actually heard talks, and this is going back months and months ago, when after Hitman 3 released, that they potentially could be purchased by Microsoft, and that ran real cold. I think we could see that actually happen. Where do you sit on a new open world IP from IO, who's never done anything like that before?
I'm excited. I mean, again, as an RPG lover through and through, give me all the new, all the biggest, all the baddest RPGs you can. I don't care. I don't care if my backlog is unsustainable. I don't care if I'll never finish. I just want to experience more worlds, and I want to have different visions of worlds, and that's why I'm always for this. I think this is exciting because we know from playing Hitman series, especially Hitman 3, that IO puts out polished games, right?
Yeah,
They
they do.
come out with games that are ready to rock and roll with very little to no bugs, to no issues. This is something that is exciting because you're getting a quality developer who has been owning their craft for many, many years. And they've gotten to the point where they are so confident that they are looking at doing their own thing. We heard rumors of possible acquisition, and the mere fact that they said, "Nah, we're good for now. We want to stay independent," right, is a big deal. That means that they have the confidence in their own ability and where they're going and what they see as their future, which is huge. And you don't have to own every single publisher out there, every single developer out there if you're Microsoft. You're at the position now, and what we're seeing here is Microsoft's in charge of their own future. They are now the captains. Okay, they used to be reactionary, right? They used to be in the mode of trying to figure out how they were going to go ahead and counteract a move that Sony made by signing a timed exclusive. It was always like, well, what's Microsoft going to do now? Microsoft is now dictating terms. Okay, and this is a continuation of that. Phil, as a gamer, loves RPGs. He's mentioned it many, many times, whether it's JRPGs, whether it's Western RPGs. He obviously has a plan, and he has implemented that plan to make Xbox Game Pass specifically the place to play if you are an RPG lover. Okay,
Yeah.
he wants that, and this is a part of that. Now, the other exciting thing to think about is that Phil now has access and knows what Obsidian's working on, knows what Bethesda's working on, knows what In Exile is working on, uh, and knows what Playground Games is working on with Fable. And he saw something in IO's idea that excited him so much. If all this is true, again, we don't know for a fact, but if this is all true, he saw something and his team saw something in IO's own creation, their own idea, this obviously new IP that excited them enough to go ahead and finance it if it is going to be Xbox exclusive. That's a pretty big deal because
Yeah.
you're talking about Xbox already has access to the best Western RPG developers, right? And they saw something here that was good enough to, well thought out enough this early on to say, yeah, we're going to go ahead and bet on this game, right? That's huge. It lines up with what I think his vision is that we have at least one AAA RPG coming out each year from here on out. Okay, this year's Starfield, and then we move on. Whether it's Fable or Avowed next year, whatever the case, I think he wants at least one AAA RPG coming out per year. And so I think this game being 4 to 5 years out looks pretty good because we don't know where Elder Scrolls 6 is in that timetable, somewhere out there as well. But he's got it lined up perfectly because those RPGs give you some of the most engagement you can get out of any type of game. When you create a game that people are willing to spend hundreds of hours in, that skews those engagement numbers in your favor. And that's what they need for Game Pass right now. They need that content that's going to keep people paying month after month for that service, for that platform. And this is a plan that he's put in place. But again, we go back to this is a This is obviously Microsoft dancing to its own tune finally.
Indeed.
Gone
Yeah.
are the days where we were asking, what's going on? Where are the games going to come from? They've only got, 3 studios. They only got 5 studios. Where are we going to get this content from? What kind of deal can they cut with somebody to get another game over here? Gone are those days. They are now in control of their own destiny, and this now they are going out like Mav was talking about. The money is being spent because this is the growth phase. They have a goal, and now that they've seen the numbers exceed their own internal goals according to them, now you've got even more of a push, because now they are starting to see that their original goal of getting as many of the 2 billion, 3 billion people playing as possible is growing daily, as far as the ability to do so with the furtherment of xCloud and mobile and all that kind of stuff. They are going to go even further. And I think, like Mav was talking about, this is something that people aren't used to. This is something that has, again, if you look back in Microsoft's history, Microsoft as a corporation, when they decide to make something a pillar of their corporation, they go all out to the point that they got sued, okay, by the government, okay, because they will do anything. They are a cutthroat company, right? They've changed their image as far as what they, customers, they're continuously doing this, but they're changing their image as far as, with backwards compatibility and all this stuff, as far as what people come to expect from a customer friendly type of company. But at the back end, at the business side of things, this is still a company that can swing a giant nearly $2 trillion stick and do anything they want to when it comes down to it. And that's what we're seeing right now. And that's why I think this E3 is going to be the hyped. I'm not going to quell my
I never
hype.
temper expectations. You know
I'm
what?
not
I
going
would
to.
rather be wrong and be disappointed than temper
Right.
expectations. That's
Exactly.
just me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm going with this one, because I think they're coming. They're going to nuke everything, because
Yeah.
I think that they are on a war path right now to grow Game Pass at any cost. And I think that means that we as gamers are going to win. The developers are winning. If they implement that 12% fee cut for the console side of things,
Oh
my
my
God.
gosh, dude.
Yeah, it's funny. They poo-pooed that, but we're going to be talking about that. Wait till
Yes.
Thursday's show, folks.
Right.
I have a show lined up that is gonna trump today's incredible podcast, and I'm telling you right now, even though Microsoft came out and said, no, we're not doing that. Let me tell you something right now. The old "where there's smoke, there's the burning blaze somewhere." Microsoft is in a position right now financially that Sony and even Nintendo would never do. And if they look, I'll put it to you this way, folks. Let's just say, for shits and giggles, and I'll elaborate on this on Thursday's show, which I am, by the way, have been working on since Monday. It's crazy how far in advance I work on these shows. If they only did that to the double and single and indie developers, do you understand the abundance of developers that would run to Microsoft to put their game on them and get into Game Pass?
Correct.
They would. Listen, there are so many games coming to Game Pass. They're gonna have to change the tagline 100 games. I think at one point there's going to be 1,000 games in there.
Right. Correct. There certainly could be. And again, I feel like Mag here. I went way off topic here, but from IO to this. But again, I think it just speaks to where Microsoft and Xbox are in their position right now. And it's in a position that they haven't been in very often. They were with the 360 era, but again, we got to remember, they didn't have hardly any first party studios back then. They were reliant upon the third parties. That kind of fell into their lap with what happened with the PS3, that they were able to secure as many exclusives as they actually did, because people just didn't want to work on the PS3, right? Right now, Microsoft has forged their own path, and with what they've accumulated, that's happening in front of our eyes, and people aren't seeing it, but that rumbling you're hearing in the background is the avalanche coming. That rumbling is only going to be ignored for so long. People can have their countdowns of how many days it's been since Microsoft has put out a first-party, banger, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter. That rumbling is coming, and that's an avalanche of games and content, because they have set themselves up for this moment in time, and the dominoes are falling one by one. And
Yeah.
this IO thing is just a tip of the iceberg. If they were in talks to acquire IO and IO backed away and said, "Now we're good. For now, we're good." Microsoft and Xbox, Phil and his team would have still had access and still would have talked to them about what they had coming up. And if this is one of those games they talked about, and Phil was like, "Hey, show me a little bit more about that," and then afterwards went back to IO and said, "Hey, you know what? That idea you had, what do you think
We'll
about this?
publish.
Yeah,
We'll
what do you think
publish.
about this? You guys stay on your own. That's cool. No problem. But you know what? We like what you guys are doing here. What about us publishing?" Right? That's the kind of relationship that Phil's been forming since he took over, and we're starting to see those things come to fruition at this
Yep.
point. And that's why it's so important that people understand what it means to have somebody like him as a gamer and somebody who had a clear vision of where he was taking Xbox in place and what that means right now, because we are seeing all of it happening, and it's beautiful.
Absolutely 100%. But listen, folks, this has been what a powerful 2 hours. And it's crazy that it feels like we just started. I cannot thank Mav, Pong Soul, and Zemi Games for making this another outstanding addition to the Xbox Factor podcast. Obviously, I want to thank everybody that had dropped super chats in there. We had a big one come in from our good friend and generous friend of the show, Nightwolf 3186, and he says this after dropping a $10 super chat: "May the fourth be with you all today. Thanks, guys, for an awesome show you put on. Always love the discussion and ideas that come from you all. Can't wait for Thursday's show. Wink, wink. Yeah, Thursday's show is going to be fire. I don't think we're going to get Boxer Bear back. He is still battling COVID. He's home from the hospital. I talked to him last night through text, and he's still fighting hard. He has not gotten worse, thankfully, since he came back from the hospital, which is why he had to go back in the first place. Of course, our prayers and thoughts go to Boxer Bear, and hopefully we'll get him back on here next week, and he'll be fully recovered from COVID-19. I want to thank the super chats that came in a big way. As always, I cannot thank you enough for the incredible generosity that comes in each and every show. If you're new to the channel and you're enjoying today's content, this is what we do weekly. I do 4 live shows weekly, 2 of which are Xbox and 2 are multi-plat shows that they usually are 2+ hours, like today was. And of course, a big shout out to Lethal Papa. He was the Jedi carrying the very big and powerful lightsaber, cutting down the trolls, which he normally does. But we threw lightsabers into the conversation because today is, of course, a celebration of Star Wars around. Of course, want to thank him for what he does. And listen, folks, if you enjoyed today's show, please, before you get on out of here, hit that like button. Definitely appreciate that. So let's get everyone out of here so you can enjoy the rest of your special Star Wars day. And we'll start with our very special guest, Mav. Thanks so much for being here, brother. Love what you're doing at the Xbox Ultimate Podcast on Friday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tell everyone about what you got going on this week, and more importantly, where could people check you out on social media?
Hey, Boom, thanks for having me here again. Appreciate it. So you guys can check me out on social media, on Twitter and YouTube at Fun Speculation. Like Boom said, Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, we have the Xbox Ultimate Podcast, where we have the Magnificent Seven, is what we call the panel. Absolute amazing people, where we talk all things Xbox. And hey, last week we even had like a weird conversation about rugby shorts and bacon. So you never know where the conversations are going to lead, but hey, we have a lot of fun with our family, and the chat's amazing. So hey, come check us out. Sub to the channel if you like what you see. We appreciate it. Also, Thursday nights at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, we have Fun Pop Podcast, where that one is more about movies, TV shows, Marvel, DC, all this fun stuff, Star Wars. And we got a lot to talk about on Thursday night this week, because there was a lot of stuff that happened yesterday.
Did you see that Marvel trailer?
Oh my gosh,
dude!
Yes.
Let me just tell you this right now. I'm 50 years old, folks. I'm gonna be 51 in September, and I'm not gonna front. I saw that, and not only was my jaw on the floor, right? Yeah, sure, it's just a Marvel trailer. Welcome us back to the theaters. This blah 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 blah. I when I saw Chadwick Boseman walk out, I got emotional. And listen, if you didn't get goosebumps from that trailer, man, I don't know if you're alive. I got to be check the pulse, brother, because damn, that was good. And hearing
Yeah.
Stan Lee, come on, I mean,
That
man.
was like that was one of the best like fan service trailers that
Oh my
also led
god,
to hype of the next phase of
crazy.
Marvel. We had some movie title announcements in
Yeah, I
there
got
as well
Fantastic
as
Four at the end of that, which was
the
pretty dope. Didn't get a date,
yeah.
but we got that they're working on it, so that's dope. Yeah, good
I
stuff.
mean, just gonna be a fun show talking about all of that and more Thursday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Fun Pop. Also, guys, at 4GQ TV, you can see me there also on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So
With the
thanks,
good
guys.
old clowns.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Clowns in that crew. Well, thanks for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate it. Mr. Zemi Games, the
Yes.
bravest man on the panel, who's looking forward to, of course, Resident Evil 8. That's not going to have a co op mode. Tell everyone about what you got going on. Where can people reach out to you? Strike up a conversation on social media. And why don't you tell us about what you got going on at theconstantgamer.com?
Yeah, so my website's called constantgamer.com. It is a gaming news media website like IGN, like Kotaku, like GameSpot. The big difference, though, is that we are
You're honest.
definitely more objective and unbiased whenever it comes to reporting, gaming news and writing reviews and all of that type of stuff. So if you are looking for, a new website to go check out, read some articles on and get up to date on your gaming news, possibly maybe go check out constantgamer.com. Also, we are still looking for writers. So if any of you guys listening to the show right now might be interested in, writing for the site, writing, reviews, news articles, features, anything of that nature, just go head over to constantgamer.com, click on the contact us button, and there should be another link for you to click that says join the team. Fill out a short little application and I will be in touch. Boom, as always, this is an amazing show. Really enjoyed it. We had some phenomenal topics. I'll see you next Tuesday, man.
Yeah, bro. Thanks so much for being here, brother. And last and no way least, rookie sensation, now veteran sensation, Pong Soul, who's been making the rounds. Tell everyone about what you got going on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on your new venture, as well as where can people reach out to you on social media?
Yeah, thanks so much, Boom. Mav, thanks for showing up, brother. It's always a good time to do a show with you, man. So appreciate that. And obviously, Zemi, amazing as always, although I think we have a reoccurring pattern with Boo Zemi coming into play at some point.
I think it might be a hashtag. I think
I
so.
think so. I think so.
I think
Anyways,
we should rename them Temper Expectations, Zimmy.
Oh, good idea. We think we
Yeah.
probably should do a name change there. It's amazing. Chat, you guys are awesome. Thank you all for the support and love and coming out each and every week. It truly is heartwarming every time I see all the familiar faces in there. Love you all. So again, Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate, Magnificent Seven with Mav and Caitlin and the rest of the crew. Like Mav said, we have crazy talks. Come check us out. That is always a blast. Saturday mornings, as Boom was alluding to, Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word with myself and Steel Rain. Man, we've been having a good time. Episode 6 was just last Saturday. We can't believe it. Him and I go for 2 hours just by ourselves. It's insane. But we just have such a great time. Had great turnout each and every week. We are growing. So please go check us out. If you like what you hear, share it. Let other people know because it's a great Saturday morning wake-up call for everybody in the United States. 3 p.m. UK time. So get your afternoons. Keep it going over there. But again, we just have a really great time. Just organic talk. We talk about the entire industry, not centric in any way over one console over the other. We talk about everything going on, and you never know where our conversations are going to go either. Steele's had some rants, I've had some rants, but come check us out 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central in the morning, and then Saturday nights the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam, Fuzzy, Centurion and Stagorilla. We just had Josh Muncie, Xbox marketing manager, on last week. Awesome interview. If you guys missed that conversation, go check it out. He gave some great information on the inside of how things work over at the marketing department. Really nice guy. It was just a great interview. So that was super cool. That starts at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time at night. Otherwise, Tuesdays back here with Xbox Factor Podcast. So I'll see you guys all next week.
Yes, well, thanks so much for being here, everyone. And once again, thank you for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. We crossed 2 million views in under 3.5 years. That is freaking ridiculous. And that happened over the weekend. I'm very, very happy and proud to share that with the community, because I would not have something like that to share if it wasn't for this outstanding community. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And I think now, more than ever, it's super relevant and, more importantly, super important. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you on Thursday's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.